We are the heartbeat of the Caribbean, where the music never stops. New era, TT Radio, Nett Radio.
Agree with that sentiment. Yes, more money, any money, big money, small money, any money, just good for me right now. People, welcome to Every Cent Counts right here on New Era TT Radio, the heartbeat of the Caribbean. Remember, you can pick us up on newerattradio.com. You can also go look at New Era TT Radio, and you will be able to get us on your smart devices, on Alexa, on, of course, your Google devices. And of course, you pick us up on all our media platforms, especially like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We are there. Mr. Thomas, a great Monday morning to you.
And a great Monday morning to you, Sir Charles.
Unmute.
All right. Well, you know, we still here in Trinidad. What was it I said the other day about Trinidad? Bacchanal, never done. So we continue to live up to our name and our fame. But greetings out there to all the people. Give me that. Hello. Yes. All the people in Nett Radio Land, the new era.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do for you, Garth, I'm leaving you for a couple minutes while I just check on a little problem on the inside on my end. All right?
All right, not a problem. You give me sharing capacity, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, welcome to New Era TT Radio.
Yeah, I sorted all of that for you already.
Yeah. All right. Great. Every cent counts. Such as I thought that it would be useful to make a little tie-in here at the beginning of the program. But before I do so, I want to welcome to our platform a friend of mine. His name is Adrian Baker. And we will be having a conversation this morning. He is the CEO/Chief Evangelist, Managing Director of Vibes Caribbean Limited, a socially conscious events management organization with over 25 years experience in event production with a variety of other organizations. He was Managing Director of JB Flags and Emblems from 1996 to 2010. He is the founder of the Hope Floats Foundation, which raises funds and awareness for Jacobson syndrome. He has events management level 3 certification with the TNT Business Etiquette syndrome and protocol specialist. And presently is pursuing his global leadership diploma with the United Nations UPeace University in San Jose, Costa Rica. So we are having here, he's here with me this morning, and we are going to be taking a look again at my paradigm, the template that I have developed for creating wealth in Trinidad and Tobago. Understanding that wealth is not just about money. So I am going to begin. Welcome, Adrian. Good to have you on board.
A great morning to you, Garth. Thank you very much for the invitation and the acknowledgement.
Not a problem. Delighted to have you. So I'm going to begin by sharing quickly my template for wealth creation, both on a personal level and on a family level, a community level, an organization level, and hopefully a national level. Okay? So the template is entitled three critical lines. And if I just run through the slideshow for you, all right, three critical lines. What are the lines? The first line is the finish line. The need for us to begin with the end in mind. The finish line is where planning begins. The planning process must begin at the finish line. We must always decide where we want to reach, because that's the only way the plans that we make can have proper alignment. So we begin with the end in mind, as promoted in Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Then we have the starting line. The starting line is about identifying current resources. In other words, resources that are currently available to us for use and for putting to work and for mobilizing. And we saw that we are saying that rather that the resources can be divided into 2 primary sets of activities. One are the tangible things, tangible resources, money,
It's going out to the, it's going out,
property,
it's coming back here. And I'm hearing
normally,
it here and thing. I'm not getting the feedback on anything, right?
yeah,
I
we
just I
hear
just
you,
getting the
Mr.
count on the
Jal.
on the
Yeah,
board,
yeah.
which is for the listener to hear on the board. But it's going out to the Zoom proper to the thing properly,
Sir
you
Charles,
know.
you need to take off your mic.
So
We're
I
hearing
don't
you.
know what it is on the board here that may not be engaged.
Yeah, we're having a little interference there. But I was saying, that the resources, the starting line, which is line number 2 out of 3, is to identify the resources that are available for use, both the tangible resources and the intangible resources, especially the intangible resources, because very often we tend to just look at what we can see. And if we understand the universe that we are living in, the universe is less about what you can see and more about what you can't see. Because what you can't see, energy, for instance, that is more important than matter. Actually, uh, my good partner Albert Einstein says that matter is really energy whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible by the senses. So that you see, even the matter that we look at is a form of energy. So we really, really want to look at energy. And unfortunately, in Trinidad and Tobago, when we think about energy, we think about our gas and oil resources. And we forget what David Rudder talks about, and that is the energy of the people. And this is our prime resource. So these are the positions advanced by the 3 critical lines. The finish line, where the planning process begins, the starting line, which is where the action begins, and the timeline. This is where we time bind what we want to achieve. In the personal context of this paradigm for wealth creation, I suggest a 10-year timeline, but in a national context, I think we need to be looking at least at 30 years. So this is the essential structure of the 3 critical lines. Now there are some other stuff And the summary is important because the summary is where the action really takes place. One of the things I promise in this paradigm for creating wealth is that I will provide a lever by which we can really maximize our primary resource as human beings, as individuals, and as a nation. And of course, that resource is our mind. So I present this question, which must be asked repeatedly. And the question is the key to idea generation, to stirring the imagination, to mining the database of information contained in our brains in order to develop strategies for taking action. The question must be asked repeatedly and continually. How can I? So, as a nation, we need to ask ourselves this question repeatedly. Because in asking ourselves this question, then we are putting our primary resource, our most important resource, to do its work and to enable the development of solutions to the challenges that we face as a nation. So, Adrian, here we are as a nation heading full pelt toward our 63rd anniversary as a nation. So the question of inevitably arises, how much progress, if any, have we made as a fledgling nation? Because as nations go, 60 years is not a lot of time. So the question is, how much progress? My first question to you this morning is, how much progress have we made as a nation?
Thank you, sir. You asked me an economist question first. Far from my real well. However, from an entrepreneurship point of view, Trinidad has many, many entrepreneurs, mompreneurs, solopreneurs. These people are the driving force of the country and the economy. In some countries, it's as low as 60%. Ours, I believe it's as high as 80%. The population of, I'm sorry, the percentage of entrepreneurs that make up the economy. So if you don't have to depend on the government, you're in a better position to have a thriving economy and have a high standard of life. That being said, there are also implications within our own economy with state enterprises and subsidies that we are slowly moving away from. Hopefully, we'll see some more growth for our people, but it's a mixed bag at this time. So,
Okay. So my question was not intended to be primarily economic because as you know, I place great value upon the mind power. And I would even say brain power. I would say mind power. Because you know I always like to make the distinction between brain and mind. You know, brain is the organ that we all supposed to have inside of our skulls that is comprised of over 40 billion neurons. And we use very few of that capacity, very little of that capacity. So when I talk about progress, I'm not going to limit progress to economics because I think that that is a mistake that we make very often, that we determine progress on the basis of infrastructural development and other external things like that, when and we pay insufficient attention to the other aspects of the nation, which might be the heart and brains of the nation, we pay very little attention to it. And I'm wondering if the fact that we pay such little attention to these things may in fact have been a shackle to hinder our progress. What do you think?
oh, I understand. Great question, sir. For sure, Trinidad is a very lovely place with respect to entrepreneurship and respect to the many accolades that we have. The first place to have an oil well drilled in Faizabad, I believe it was, in over 100 years ago. The first Black Miss Universe, the first Black Mr. Universe, and many other accolades. Our 375, our 400, our 501. Those who know, they know what I'm referring to. And these pellets of pride, I believe, have demonstrated the power to galvanize the people. I remember in November 2025, November 2005, when we qualified as the smallest nation to advance to the World Cup finals. It was a difficult time in the country, yet still you were having everyone in the streets hugging up and jumping up as the smallest nation to qualify. These small opportunities are few and far between, but when they come, they bring the people together. You saw people selling T-shirts, selling bandanas on the streets, selling flags for the country. So the country is going to come out of this current state that it's in. The only question is when and how. But the people always find a way, and we will again, I believe.
Okay, so Adrian, it is obvious to me. I don't know if it is as obvious to others as it is to me, and I'd like you to give me your 2 cents or 5 cents vote on it. I do not expect our politicians to move this country forward. I think it is a big mistake on the part of our population as a whole to expect politicians to really move the nation forward. Do you agree? And if so, why?
Politicians, in my view, are public servants. They are there to manage the affairs of the country. They have a responsibility in that regard. What they do with that time, that's wrong talk. That's something else. But for the people, it's my opinion that culture drives change, and culture is changed peer to peer. That means if for politics to work, the politicians or the political parties, I believe, need to have agency with organizations on the ground and people or influencers or key persons of interest on the ground and in organizations that can advance their agendas. Progress is made peer to peer. Culture changes peer to peer, not top down. So if politics continues to have a top down approach, it's going to yield similar results as to what it has in the past. So maybe it's best we look at forming more communities or smaller or micro communities where we can work together to help build ourselves up and hopefully present some insulation from what happens domestically and globally on a larger front.
Why do you think we need to provide some insulation? Wouldn't it be a better idea for us to look and see how we can take advantage of what is happening internationally, regionally, and certainly nationally? How we can take what is there and shape it and direct it in a fashion that will bring greater development. And perhaps that is a matter which we should discuss in Adrian. What is really development? The what we call the first world countries have done us the disservice of describing us as a third world nation. It's a label that so many people accept, but which I reject vehemently. Because anytime you accept the title of being a third world nation in a world that only celebrates what is first, then there's no chance for you to get anywhere. So I have rejected the label third world nation. What we are is a developing nation, and we have some opportunities once you recognize who we are, that there is potential within us as a nation to become a leading, if not the leading nation of the world or in the world. What do you think? You think that potential is resident within Trinidad and Tobago? Do you feel that I'm not asking you a lot of questions, so I hope you're taking some notes. All right. Do you feel that the average Trinbagonian believes and expects that we will rise to be a leading nation, if not the leading nation in the world? What are your thoughts?
I say you gave me a lot to unpack there. I'm going to try to keep it within the 60 minutes of time that we have for the
Less
program
than,
this
less
morning.
than 60 minutes.
At this point, of course. First, I'll start with addressing the challenge you gave with respect to insulation. Insulation is a good thing. Let's just put it in its framework. Rain is a good thing. Sunshine is a good thing. We need both to survive and to thrive. Too much of it, uncontrolled, leads to problems. The insulation that I speak about would be so that we build a household, that we can work in a safe, controlled environment while we develop the frameworks that we need to manage or to harness the external elements. That's the framework for the insulation.
Okay.
Next question, third world versus developing nation. Where people see us as third world and we see ourselves as developing nation, these are the titles, whether they call it third world or developing nation, they have a perception of us that is very rarely going to change. It's our responsibility to focus on what we can change. And that would be how we manage our interactions, our relationships with our own people and those who can make a difference. So if we can galvanize those 300,000 Trinidad and Tobago passport holders, residents outside of the island's boundaries, to see capacity in Trinidad for positive productivity and opportunities, then we may have another energy source on our hands. These people with that experience, that know-how, and those resources and access, we can do something with it. And I dare say we may not need politicians, or well, we don't need it, but it would be maybe a little more evident when
So are you
politicians
saying,
occur.
if I cut you there for a moment, Adrian,
Yes, sir.
are you saying that our diaspora, that you have numbered at 300,000, at least in terms of passports, I personally believe that if you take the whole gamut of the families that those 300,000 passport holders have, we're looking really at a diaspora well in excess of 1 million. Yes? But are you identifying, my question really is, are you identifying our diaspora as a significant resource toward moving our nation forward as we progress, as the years pass, as the clock ticks?
I believe so. Yes, sir. Because you have had over the number of years that I've been an adult, a number of people who leave annually, professionals, and that brain drain has led to stories that they share with other Trinidadians living outside or other people where largely the sentiment is, I'm not going back. You could go back if you want to, but it doesn't have anything there for us at this time. And even those who want to return after a while living outside and acclimating into the system that they're in, they don't really move forward. Very rarely you hear the repatriation stories, the good repatriation stories, the positive repatriation stories you want to hear about. But these people are there and they want to share in their experiences and have developed their country. They are buying the smallest of things, the Trinidad keychain, the tassels, the bumper stickers, the framing for their license plates in these different countries outside. They want to. If we give them a reason to, they can be a resource to believe that they can work with us, that they have something that they're not starting from absolute zero when they come here to do business.
So,
So
so if I
so
intrude again, Adrian, we come back to one of my fundamental questions, which is, do you think that I don't know whether to say the average Trinbagonian or a significant number of Trinbagonians believe? Do you think that they believe or expect? And I know those are two different things. Believe and expect that Trinidad has the capacity to become a leading nation in the world.
so average Trinidadian could be for you and I having a soup at the fish fry in Carenage on a Saturday morning. Another average Trinidadian, it may be waking up and going down the islands on their yachts. And who's to say which is more average than the other? What I do know is we are not going to change on a big scale without first changing on a small scale. So find your communities, find your NGOs, your former classmates from your high school, your college, your universities, your secondary schools. Find those organizations on the ground in your communities, the dance group that you were once a part of, those people you used to throw events with, and you'll come together and speak what's going on, just to speak, just to find out, just to listen. Your average may be different from many other people's average and be skewing the real average. And let's see what can happen from these conversations, just initially. Let's start there and change here first, within here. Not just how you love, but how you're willing to change, how you're willing to adapt or integrate into something that may be bigger or more beneficial to someone else than it is for you. That I see would be a good place to start figuring out what average people can do when they integrate with other average people.
But do you think that these kind of conversations are taking place at any significant level within our communities? And if not, how can you? Because I'm telling you, I have a bias with regard to this question, and that is the reason why this program is taking place now is because I, as an individual Trinbagonian, I believe that we need to have these conversations. I believe as Trinbagonians, we need to talk about ourselves, about the possibilities of our nation rising to be a leading nation. I can tell you, I have not heard a lot of these conversations going around me. All right, people tend to become preoccupied with very minor matters, which to them ain't minor, but who went, that's how the West Indies performing. how, when Carnival come in, when's the next public holiday, why we having so much public holidays. You get a lot of conversations at that level. But I cannot recall hearing as I listen, and I listen, if wherever I am, I listen to hear what it is people are talking about. And I really feel that there is a need for us to recognize our potential as a nation, though small, though with apparent limited resources. And I say apparent, you hear what underline apparent there, because we have endless resources. And our culture, I know I was touching a hot button there for you. Our culture speaks to that. What say you? You're muted, Adrian. Yeah.
Apologies. There's a lot that we can say to that. Yes, these conversations are happening. They're happening every Friday, every Saturday by the watering holes. But what happens on a Monday when we return to work, when we return to sobriety? And is it actionable? That's the question. We have a driving force, we have a powerful people as an engine. If they are focused purely on survival, then survival happens for them because that's where their focus is. If we can change the conversation that they're having or we're having with them from survival to thriving, then some of these things can happen. Some of these changes can happen. Some of this development, the harnessing of these powers that we have in the magic of our people, the culture. Imagine the first 6 months of a financial year, a bank proudly reported a $340 million profit. Financial institutions have their place in the country, don't get me wrong. Still, you have financial institutions who are taking, I do not know what it is, forgive me, but between $15 and I think $30 for accounts that are overdrawn. In other words, they're benefiting from, they're finding people who do not have money to pay for those accounts. And if that is financial sense, I do not know anything about banking. But if they're using that money to reflect in their profits only for stakeholders' interests and not taking that money and maybe putting it back into the community to serve these same people who they're taxing or who are these fees are coming from, then something isn't working in the optimized version, perhaps. What I can say is let's try and have these conversations with the people who are ready to go. It's going to be early adopters, late adapters, and the rest. People are willing. Some people are more willing than others because they're able. Let's just have the conversation started with some of these and see where it goes.
So, but how do you think, what are the things that we can do outside of a program like this to stimulate the conversation in a particular direction, to lift people's gaze from seeing the morass with which they are surrounded, in which they live, to see beyond that to something that is more desirable, to something that is achievable? How do we convince people that we have the capacity and that what we need is direction? And this is where I come back to my template for creating wealth as individuals and as a nation, that you must have some kind of a structure for the potential that is there. There's no question in my mind about the potential that is there. But how do we get people to recognize that potential and to lift their gaze out of the morass to a brighter future? What are the mechanisms that we can use? Now, I know that you are the chief evangelist and CEO of Vibes Caribbean. So let me bring my question down to Vibes Caribbean because we are running out of time. What is behind Vibes Caribbean that relates to what we are talking about this morning?
Vibes Caribbean is a social enterprise business hub focused on galvanizing the Caribbean diaspora to insulate ourselves from financial, local, global, and local threats that are happening. And this would have come from my own experience with my family living away and visiting my family. You still have those people in the diaspora who, some may say, catching their royal outside there now more than ever and as much as before. What we have chosen to do, the approach we have chosen to take is having conversations with different special interest groups and focusing on what we do have. We still have a culture or subcultures within us of people who would visit here for carnival, visit here for food, visit here just to relax, having conversations that are leading with what's good, what can we do, what are you doing that has worked for you that's different from what you were doing before. And again, it comes back to culture and community, building community using the culture as leverage and having these people see where we are more connected than we are divided, even if you look or sound differently from your neighbors.
So would you say then that to measure development based upon infrastructural sophistication is a mistake? That in other words, let me ask it another way. Do you think that standard of living is comparable or equitable? Well, not equitable, but equating. Yeah, what's the word I wanted? Do you think we can equate standard of living with quality of life? All right, because I'm suspecting that what you're saying there is that we have here in Trinidad a quality of life that is significant. I don't know. What do you think? Hard question.
This, no. A personal question. This morning before breakfast, I had a Julie mango, a starch mango, and 3 pomerats. And my cousin in Princeton, New Jersey, who I'm going to share this recording with, he's been cussing me every time I share a picture of a pomerat with him because he hasn't been home in 30 years.
Wow.
Cussing me every time I share a pomerat with him. We have things that we can enjoy that other people who cannot take them for granted, they feel bad about. They miss it. They love it. Yes, we have certain things, quality of life versus standard of living. That's going to be an ongoing conversation. It's going to be difficult. What we have is a lot of people who have experiences of the country seem to be going nowhere. It's hope versus hopelessness. And they can't keep up with how quickly the license plates are changing in the country while they're trying to feed their families. Some of these people are going to have valuable contributions if they can come out of their survival mode, fright or flight.
Yes. So you're saying that, unless you're cocky eye, you can't focus on two different things at the same time. So if you're focused on standard of living, very often quality of life suffers. Yes? I don't know if this is what you're saying. I'm just trying to interpret it.
Agreed. And I'll use another real life example, particularly for Trinidad. In years gone by, when gas prices favored our fortunes, we had a burst, an explosion of growth of the number of tall buildings and large buildings in the country. Stadia were built around important international happenings going on in the country and other facilities. Those millions and billions, what have they translated into? What are these stadia used for? I know some of them are used for cultural events, some are used for carnival events, some are used for athletic events. Have they contributed to a higher standard of living, higher quality of life for the people, as opposed to maybe using some of these, some of this revenue from windfalls and putting community outreach programs, putting community coaching clinics, membership in community clubs at the forefront, and having these people the then come out of these campaigns, have that progression going. There's something that I say often: culture beats strategy, so much so that culture is strategy. So if the culture of the people is one where we having fun, we and liming and jamming, then that is our call sign. That's who we are. If it's going to make a difference in how we are going to survive the next traumatic experience, I don't know. But what we can do is focus on how we as a people that are here now with readiness to do the next thing that we enjoy, how we integrate that into our lives, how we are going to share in the benefits when we have some measurable success and we come home and we share it with our people. What it looks like: a longer table versus a taller wall.
Okay, well, it's now 11:45. So, Charles, I don't know if we have any callers to the program. Do we? Are you there?
Well, right now we don't, but we could always put it out and see what will happen. So people, you
Okay,
can
all
call
right.
us at 281-1315, and you can talk with Garth and his guests inside this morning.
All right. Thank you, Sir Charles. So, Adrian, we have a little more time because, I want to seize the opportunity while we have the time to congratulate you on your presidency. Because when I introduced you, I did not introduce you as the incoming president of the Dynamic Speakers Toastmasters Club. So I want to congratulate you on your presidency, and I want to ask you the question: if you think organizations like Toastmasters, first of all, tell me what Toastmasters is really all about. And do you think that Toastmasters has a contribution like other community organizations? How can Toastmasters contribute to moving this nation forward? You're muted again. You're muted again. You're muted again. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you, sir. Toastmasters is a community based organization, 100 years young, with over 8 million people as members over the past 100 years. And it helps bring some people to closer to finding their courage and finding their voice in public speaking and business, the art of business communication. I'm part of the oldest standing club in Trinidad, Dynamic Speakers Toastmasters Club, and we are part of Division F. That is part of the region. Toastmasters for me helped me find my own voice in leadership, where I would be very challenged every time I even saw a microphone. Had nothing to do with me. I knew what I was doing, I knew what I was speaking about, but something about hearing my voice in playback that did not sit very well with me. I thank Toastmasters for helping me be a lot more comfortable with that as I continue on my entrepreneurship journey.
Okay, so you think that like other organizations in the community that Toastmasters has the capacity to help the nation move forward. And I
Absolutely.
mean, I you know I have I have a bias relative to Toastmasters because I am a Toastmaster myself and past president of your club.
Absolutely, Sid. The best person to advertise your brand, your personal brand, your professional brand, is yourself. And the best person to help you find that voice, to the best of my knowledge, would be Toastmasters. Everyone is focused nowadays on their personal brand. You have Apple having their CEO Tim Cook appear on podcasts and having his Instagram and his X feed followed. He has more than double the followers of Apple, and Apple has been around for 50 years, thereabouts. That's significant. That says the brand story is very important for growth of the business. But in this day, you also have to have vested personal interest in who is running the company.
How can we equate that with the Trinbago brand? How can we? That's a useful analogy you made there, and it made me think immediately of Trinbago about this piece of thought that I have here about Trinidad having the capacity to become a leading nation. How, I guess, building our brand would be a part of such a movement forward. How can we build our brand, Adrian?
Our brand is already established, which is FET, Party, Line. You Google Trinidad and Tobago or you type it into any of the AI prompts, it's going to be doubles to the top, liming, carnival. Not necessarily in that order, depending on the quality of your prompt. That's what our brand is. If we can make it more about positives for the people who are driving the making of the carnival, the doubles, etc., then it's going to be fun again. Right now, it's difficult to have fun when you're in survival mode for a lot of people. But we do already have a brand that is working for us. Some of us have more powerful brands as well. We have national mountain bikers, cyclists currently doing their thing and doing very well. Triathletes. Let's just have more conversations where we are able to know who these people are that are doing well. We can engage with them and we can thank them. One of our Caribbean counterparts, Jamaica, they have a different culture with respect to patriotism and their loyalty around their sports and their business brands. And they're fiercely loyal. Do we have that here? Not so much. That's not our culture. But if we can create it where we celebrate our brands, we celebrate our ladies who come in the finalists in regional or international pageantry, who come in the finals or place in other competitions, in science, in academia, in athletics, in culture, then you have everyone in your country or many people more as unpaid brand ambassadors who are doing this for the love and not for the bottom line. You're going to need bottom line for you to do everything. You absolutely do. But if you run up the price of everything, then you are going to have products that no one can afford to buy. That's going to stay on your hands. So build the people. Let's build the people, not just Toastmasters. There are other organizations that's doing great work as well, quietly behind the scenes. Let's just have conversations with these people, see where they
Build the
go.
brand. Build the brand. We need to
That's
build
right.
the Trinbago brand.
They're different. They're different versions of the brand. Let's build it because we're all Trinbagonians at the end of the day. We get
That's
that qualification in November, 20th anniversary of the smallest nation to qualify for FIFA World Cup. We are in the best group for us to do it. People come out, spend your $150 or $200, TTFA plug for the matches. We can celebrate that 20th anniversary of qualifying as the smallest nation for FIFA Soccer World Cup finals with another opportunity to go there and do it again.
So this celebration, and I would feel, a single celebration can do so much and no more. But if as a strategy for development and growth, we practice again and again celebrating our successes, you think that will impact positively and change us out of a survival mode into a success mode. Because you can't, survival is important. There's no question about survival being important. But if you're focused, as you quite rightly said, if you're focused on survival, you cannot see success because all your energies are locked in to just barely surviving. And some people say, but God, get real, if I have to survive. And I'm saying, yes, when you move your gaze upward, I have a favorite metaphor, Adrian, that comes to me here. And that is you have to get out of the crumb mentality. The crumb mentality is a survival mentality. Yes? Where do you find crumbs, Adrian? You either find crumbs on the floor, all right, or on the table after the fete done. After all the food finished, what is left is crumbs. And if you are focused on getting crumbs, then you cannot see the feast that is on the table because the crumbs on the ground, the feast on the table. If you raise your gaze to the feast on the table and you begin to engage strategies to, participate in that feast, then you will survive. You will more than survive because there's more stuff on the table than there are crumbs on the ground. And yet we have this propensity to focus on the crumbs for the ground. And you know what is typical of the struggle for crumbs on the ground? It is that you're killing people for survival. You will do anything for the crumb. Whenever there's a fight, Adrian, is because the perception is that the resources available are limited. And if I want to get, I have to lick down a couple people in order to survive. That is the mentality that we have. Whereas when you look at the feast on the table, it becomes immediately apparent there is enough food for all. When you find somebody who is at the table and they're getting on stupid, it's because the crumb mentality still with them. They still feel, good, even though it has so much food, I better take all that I could take, even more than I could take. Yeah? That kind of a consciousness is one of the greatest challenges that we face as a nation. You agree? I think I'm getting a little hint from Sir Charles that we're running out of time.
Yes, I'm running up to news time.
All right, Sir Charles. Well, Adrian, let me thank you for your time, for your ideas, your conversation. Let me challenge all our listeners, especially our listeners out there in diaspora land. The fact that we have trainees all over the place is a major asset to the nation. That resource just has to be mobilized. And if you are a trainee and if you are living outside, as we say, understand your roots still here. I don't know whether you eat cascadoo or not, but you better come back here somehow or the other, send money back and understand that you have a contribution to make to help this nation realize its potential to be a leading nation in the world. I'm putting that outside there deliberately. We can become a leading nation in the world. We have that capacity. We have that potential. Our culture provides us with a powerful mechanism to do that. Let us use the resources that are available to us because you can only work Sir Charles, the only thing you work with is the
What?
resources that you have.
Yeah,
Yes,
look at what you
you
have.
can only work with what you have. You can't work with what you wish you had. Or you can't work with what you hope you're going to get. You can only work with what you have. So, Adrian, I know you're working with what you have, and I wish you the best in your current in your new term as president of the Dynamic Speakers Toastmasters Club. And to the listeners out there who do not belong to Toastmasters, go online and check us, www.toastmasters.org. International organization all over the world, providing opportunities for you to grow through leadership development and the mastery of the art of oral communication. The opportunities are there. My number is 680-3185. 680-3185. Looking forward. WhatsApp me, don't call me, WhatsApp me, and we can talk. Sir Charles.
Thank you very much, Garth, and thank you very much to you guys passing through. People, this has been Every Cent Counts right here on New Era TT Radio. We have our newscast that is just 30 seconds away.
Money